Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MTS here, back in another video. And today I want to talk about, I'm wearing AC Milan cap, but YouTube's done that really weird thing with the clock in it. So today I want to talk about Celtic versus Rangers. I'm wearing an AC Milan cap, but as both Italian soccer or footy or whatever you want to call it, and Celtic FC. And I thought I'd do it in my usual list form before I go and watch the game. Hopefully I'm going to watch the game with my dad and a friend of mine, so all being well, as they say. And hopefully all will go well. It could be a really bad day, it could be a really good day. I think this is, like I said in the description, and I think in the title as well, actually, one of the most important games. I think it's probably one of the most important games in both clubs' history. Like both of us are going through like new manager bounce, like having both arguably poor managers, I think, or certainly Brendan Rodgers last season. Maybe he's going through like what they call a third season syndrome, which many managers nowadays seem to have. Longevity in managers seems to be something of the past, perhaps. But or maybe not. I don't know. But like, I'm thinking like someone like Alex Ferguson lasted for so long. But I want to talk first. I want to get the negatives out of the way and talk about some of the fears I have for Celtic, and then some of the goals and dreams I have for Celtic. So I hope it would generally get progressively better, just like I hope this month will. Or it'd be cool if life did as well. Unfortunately, I think it gets downhill. So a grumpy old man back. Sorry. I hope my phone doesn't ring because I forgot my phone somewhere else. So I'm going to have to answer it later if it does. So we'll keep the phone from here. Anyway, sorry. These are pointers number 1 to 10. So here goes. So number 1, getting the worst out of the way, as I say. My fears are losing the game. But in the long term, I feel like, heaven forbid, what if Celtic are involved in like some sort of scandal that there's nothing to do with the supporters, or if it is the support especially. So I hope the supporters will be on their best behaviour. It'd be cool if we were the most welcomed supporters all over the world, like we were well behaved and that kind of thing. But you can't control all the fans. But I feel like, what if we got involved in a scandal? It'd be so embarrassing given what we said about them, like when they went relegated, how much banter we gave them. Like, heaven forbid, God willing, Godspeed, that would never happen. But I was saying that if that did happen and we got relegated, really, or something like that, would be my worst fear. I wasn't sure where to mention that, but I thought I'd talk about my worst fears. But yeah, getting relegated and things like that. Heaven forbid if Rangers win more trophies than us again, and get ahead of us again. And also, so getting relegated, I think, would be the worst. Going out of business, actually, would probably be would be the worst, or going relegated and having to rebuild. Points deductions would be really bad if we got something like that. Heaven forbid in the league. I know this is a cup game, it's a one-off. That's why it's such a crucial game. And I think we're both at a pivotal turning point for our seasons. But yeah, heaven forbid these things won't happen. As I say, these are my worst fears. So I know some people call them first world problems if you're not a big soccer supporter or whatever, or if you don't care about soccer at all. But or even for those who do but are not hugely keen on it, they might say, "Oh, there's much bigger problems in the world." But I hope to come to something on that a bit later. But yeah, those are my worst fears. Like if we did go bust, business, or if we did get relegated, which would be the second worst thing to happen to us, potentially, if it ever happened. So basically, the worst thing that could happen to us is going out of business. The second worst would be getting relegated. The third worst would be having points deductions, and I suppose probably just under that would be getting fines or things like that. And like if there was a scandal that may put off potential investors or sponsors. So as I say, those are things touch wood would never happen, and those things would never happen. Obviously, I pretty much want for the opposite to that. I'd get the worst out of the way. But in terms of today's game, thinking about the worst case scenarios, it would be obviously losing to them. And I do fear, like, what if Danny Roll, I pronounce his name, I think it's Danny Roll from Germany, what if he went up on a roll, heaven forbid? He seems to be doing a good job so far, certainly compared to Russell Martin, but not so much, to be fair. I was surprised. I mean, if someone told me at the start of the season, like, Celtic wouldn't be top of the league, I'd be like, oh no, I don't want them to win it, but then I don't want the rankers, as I call them, to win it, but then to believe it, to know it's Hearts, if I'd crossed the board, I'd be like, wow. But if someone told me, I wouldn't believe them. But credit to them, Hearts are doing well, unfortunately for us, but they are quite ahead of us. They're 9 points ahead, but we have a game in hand, so hopefully we can reduce that to 6. But obviously today is a cup game. But yeah, those are some of my worst fears. I say for today's game, I suppose it'd be losing, especially in an embarrassing defeat, and especially if they can go on a run, win things, and that could limit us, and obviously if we don't win any trophies this season, heaven forbid. I do fear, another thing is that I fear that our new manager, Martin O'Neill, he's done a good job, but he's only had one game so far. Who knows, maybe even Brenda would have done all right, Matt, you never know. I think people saying we're already playing better football though, but he is quite old, and I wonder if his tactics are a bit old school. Hopefully that his experience, including off this league, will see him through, and his experience with, I think it was Aston Villa, and his experience with this league will hopefully see him through. I thought I'd talk about the negatives first. Losing embarrassingly in a massive defeat. I suppose the support's not being safe. If something goes wrong, heaven forbid, like with the stadium, if there's something like Hillsborough or something like that, would be something like that. Would probably, I suppose you might say that's much bigger fear than football. But I think those are some of my biggest. I think those are all my biggest fears, pretty much covered. So yeah, if we did go out of business, or if we heaven forbid we went out of business, or got relegated and had to rebuild, or if we got points deductions, or if we got fines. But progressively, those are at least worse, but the worst obviously being first. I think that way. Moving on, I think. I do wonder if Martin O'Neill's a bit too old, and I hope he's not too old school, like the modern day tactics. Hopefully, our advisors around him so he can give us a modern day tactics. I know he's only supposed to be a short term manager, but if I was in his position, I'd probably look and say, let's look at how modern day football works. Let's see all the different scenarios, analyse the weaknesses of our opposition, obviously, and get people around me who are younger, who could know a little bit more of that energy. Although he does seem to have quite a lot of energy for his age. But I think that covers everything for number one. I'm going to move on from the negatives anyway to number two. So hopefully, again, Martin O'Neill. I hope I don't keep mixing his name up with Neil Lennon, because I mix those names up. But Neil Lennon was a disaster. So I hope it won't happen like when he took over, when after last time Brenda, so I called him. Last time he left, it all went downhill pretty much quite quickly. Or went to, I don't say the word, but I was thinking of it. But I hope he can use his experience to do well though, and I hope they can maybe even roll back the glory days to how we were in his last tenure. Pronounce it Tenure, tenor. Oh, how we pronounce it? I don't mean tenor as in money, but anyway. Hopefully we get lots of those. But hopefully he'll learn about learning. He will have learned about Rangers rank, as I call them, any weaknesses they might have, and also as a man, hopefully clubs will do. Also, modern age, hopefully Celtic will do analyse any potential weaknesses in our opposition. But also, hopefully on the training ground, we'll practice some set pieces. It'd be interesting if we could score from a set piece. I was hoping we might concede from one. But yeah, I'm hoping we can capitalise on any set pieces and actually take advantage of them. People say like Brenda kept going backwards or sideways and didn't go out and attack. And also, he was probably pretty much the only manager who didn't help to score against the Rankers. And also from corners, we didn't just put the ball in the box and try and make something happen. We sort of kept going backwards. I think they were doing all this sports science stuff, but yeah, I think even if they say only a certain amount of goals come from corners, pieces, free kicks, or whatever, throw-ins or whatever, I think it's still better than nothing. It's still better than not getting those chances. So even if we only capitalise in like one in 10 of them, if we create so many corners, free kicks, and throw-ins in their area, hopefully playing their half, that would be a great thing. That's it. Moving on to number 3. I dream Celtic will win a treble. It'll be good at least if we win the league. If we come back against Hearts and win the league. But this is a big game, as I say, because if we win it, hopefully we can stop Rangers from winning any trophies this season again. Another trophy this season, all being well. Again, touch wood. God willing and Godspeed. And also, if they beat us, who knows? We might end up trophyless, and they could go on a run and heaven forbid get a treble. So again, that would be a worst case scenario. I did try and get the worst case scenario out of the way, but I dream that we'll win at least the league, preferably at least a double, and hopefully a treble. I think we should leave like European games and like rest players, put young players on, put fringe players on, and that kind of thing as well. And so young and fringe players could stake their claim to play, so they could say like, "This is why you should pick me, Martin." I thought that under Brenda as well, but just before he resigned, I thought that in the European games, I think we should focus more on our domestic campaigns because we were, and we still probably are kind of struggling in that department compared to our usual selves. I've come up with some ideas which I got slagged for, as they were saying about. I thought like having GoFundMe pages, crowdfunding, and all sorts of things like that. In the past, to keep a player, which was odds on everyone. But if his attitude is he wants to leave, then I think fair enough. But yeah, those were some of my ideas. I'd love to find all possible ways to fund the club, fundraise for the club, and hopefully help it to be as successful as possible. Number 4, on that note, I'd love it if we were in a position where we could spend £2 or even £5 or even £10, ideally even hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, or even trillions of pounds more than our rivals, times the amount of our rivals, but get carried away. But yeah, I dream of keep winning more trophies than our rivals and get as much funding as possible. There's a point on that I was going to raise, but I thought I'd say that a bit later. But yeah, I dream we'll continue to win more trophies than them. I think that's the main thing. But today could be a chance to end their season for winning trophy. I mean, it's a big confidence booster as well for the league. Things like that. See how we play against them. See how we both are under our new managers. So obviously for them, they might want to see us. Obviously they want to see us not winning trophies and not doing well and whatever. But yeah, I hope that obviously we can end their season and that kind of thing. And I dream we'll get more investment and more sponsorship and do better, of course. As I've said in the past, I'd love for us to get as much funding as possible, as long as it's legal, as much investment and sponsorship as possible. And I know, I mean, I'm trying to focus on the club generally, and it's generally, so I can't pronounce that word properly, generally, and its future, genuinely as well. But because, yeah, today's a huge game, so I'm hoping to think of today's game, and I hope it'll be a good one. As a sport, there's not much you can do. Maybe share some tactics and try and help the club financially or whatever, but there's not much you can do. So certainly hoping for the best. So yeah, I was hoping. I was thinking of going to the pub, but then I thought, what if the game's not on? Because if they don't have that televised game, which I think they should, it's a huge game, but some games they don't have televised if they don't have the TV rights on that channel. If they don't have that channel, whatever. But at least if my dad's there, my friends, a few drinks or whatever. I don't drink alcohol, but believe it or not. But moving on to number 5, I was thinking of saying this in point before, but I thought I'd move on, try and speed up the video. As I thought I'd do this in list form, otherwise I might go all over the place, which I kind of am already, but I want to try and focus as much as I can. If you'd be so kind, please like and share the video. That would be really appreciate it. But one of the things I was thinking of is like if Jurgen Klopp managed Celtic. I don't know if we could afford him though, but he did a really good job over with Liverpool. The only problem is, I suppose, the problem is, I suppose, with teams like Celtic and Rangers, you're expected to win trophies straight away, and sometimes it's seen as a disaster if you don't win a trophy in your first season or whatever. So they call it hit the ground running or whatever that means. But if he doesn't get there really quick, excuse me, and get going really quick, I guess the supporters might not be as patient. They might say he's finished, he's passed it or whatever. And there'd be a lot of expectations on him. But again, I don't know if we could even afford his wages, but I thought that an out there sort of thing, like since he quit Liverpool, I'd love to see him in Italy as a fan, as a support of Italian football, and see what he could do there as a support of Italian soccer. Maybe think about that. I'd love to see Ange maybe in Italy, coaching an Italian team, because he could bring that attacking flair there. But although it's quite a defensive league, so if you don't do well defensively, unfortunately, it's not so good. But I'd love to see Italian teams go more attacking. But yeah, I wonder if someone like Klopp who could afford him. But he did a great job with Liverpool. He could do that, something like that with Celtic, and it is at a lower level as well in Scottish football. So it should be easier as well. So I know I said that you have to hit the ground running, or whatever the saying is, whatever that means. Or basically, you'd have to win trophies really quickly. I don't know if that's the right saying, but you'd have to crack on really quick. I don't know if we'd be patient enough to, like Liverpool, wait for like a few years to win things. But on the other hand, it is an easier level to play at in Scotland. Like you see the other way around, like Stephen Gerrard when he left Rangers and the Rankers. He did really badly with Villa. So it does show that the other way around should be easier. So Jurgen Klopp should easily be able to those trophies. Again, it would depend if we can afford him, but I'd love to get as much funding as possible so we can bring the best possible coaches and managers and players and whatever to the club. But although it is a bit of a dilemma because I'd love for similar with Italian teams, especially in Europe, but supporting Italian football and Celtic. I mean, I'd love to see the best possible managers, coaches, players, and whatnot, directors of football, dietitians, and whatnot in Italian football as well, especially for Roma. And moving on, number 6, think about the future as well, generally, not just this game. I'd love to see as many Italians support Celtic as possible as a second club, and vice versa. Celtic supporting Italian clubs in Europe or whatever as part of a deal. I'd love for Celtic to form a partnership with Italian teams that I've talked about in the past. So I'd love for them to practice and train together. So the saying goes, as I often say, like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I often say, like, sorry to repeat myself from previous videos, but as per usual. But I often say, like, as a vegetarian, I'll probably think of a different saying. But so yeah, I'd love to see Celtic helping Italian teams, like helping Italian teams at club and country level. I'd love to see Celtic supporting the Italian national team and Italian clubs, and vice versa, like Italians supporting Celtic as a favourite Scottish or even non-Italian team. I know there's already the Italian Celts, but I hope to increase that relationship further. So I'd love for Celtic to have a youth level like AC Celtic, CA Celtic, Celtic CA, Celtic AC. And again, I know I talked about that a while back, but like AC Milan, but to play, like to train against Milan and that kind of thing. But I'd love to see Italian teams at club and country level, like the Italian national team, especially youth level, practicing with Celtic and vice versa. So hopefully Celtic can help Italian teams, like help Italy to become really good in the World Cup, and help Italian club teams to do better in Europe and train together and share ideas and things like that, and help each other to improve, share knowledge with each other and whatever. Facts, stats, figures, general info and knowledge and whatnot. And I hope that'll be a mutual benefit. And number 7, on that note, hopefully Italian teams can help Celtic as well. I was going to say that in point number 6, but I didn't want it to be 3 6s, so I thought I'll move on because I mentioned the Italian national team and club teams. I want Celtic to be 3rd in that list. Another quirky pattern of mine. But I dream that Celts all over the world will get behind the club, and I suppose sometimes you've got to be patient if the club's not playing as well, but obviously if they give something to get behind. I was thinking actually earlier, I forgot to say about, and I'd love for the club to develop 7-a-side pitches, so I'm going from point to point, but if a player wants to leave, like Days and Maeda or whoever, if they do want to leave, any player, including in the future, of course, excuse me, and they're honest with the supporters and they say, we want to leave, but while we're here at the club, we're going to put in 100%. So let's say Dyson Maeda says, I want to leave, but while I'm with Celtic, I'm going to put in 100% for the supporters and the club, and I'm going to leave on a high and show to my new manager, the new club I joined, that I'm a good player, and I'm going to have a good attitude and continue with that good attitude. And and they play as a team and they put the team first and the club first and whatever. I would say, fair play, I'll tip my hat to you or whatever. I'll tip my hat to you or whatever. I'll tip my hat to you or whatever. Tip my ball badge. But I know you could see that before I put my cap on. But anyway, but yeah, I would say fair enough if you want to leave. But as long as you do it that way, if they were like not putting an effort in like Edson or what I did, I think that's a really bad look. I think that's really that would really disappoint me if they're down tools or they don't try. But hopefully under a new manager, we'll see like Brenda's tactics were too stale and too defensive, and we're going backwards and we weren't going forwards and whatever. So hopefully that will help to show that it was Brenda all along. And also, sorry, no, I call him Brendan, whatever, Mr. Rogers. But hopefully they'll show that under a new manager who lets them flourish and play their game, and we go out and attack, and we don't just try and keep the ball all the time, but we try and take risks and attack teams and score goals, not just play for the draw or whatever. And as a fan of Italian soccer, I'm used to it, but with Celtic sports, they want to see attacking soccer or whatever you call it. And but if a player wants to leave, I'd say, my point is that I'd say fair enough. I understand you want to go for more money or you want to go to a more prestigious league, handshake or both of those things or whatever. But at least while you're here, I think we should put 100% effort and play as a team. And I dream we'll get lots of crosses in, take advantage of set pieces, and really go and attack them. This is, I'd say, one of the most important games. So I really hope. I think players should always put 100%, but work smart, hard, or whatever it takes. But I think that they should. But yeah, if they want to leave, then hopefully leave on a high. Another thing I was thinking about, jobs. I don't want to say the word what I'm thinking of, but anyway, rhymes with city. But yeah, I call them. I'm trying to think of a way to put it. So, what rhymes with slits? But yeah, I call it. Anyway, moving on. Number 8. I hope. I'm a bit negative about it, but I hope we can win this game. And there's not much we can do as supporters except for try and get behind the team, shout for the team. For those who are in the ground, buy the merch. Some people want to boycott the merch because they're bored, but try to convince the club to spend more money buying shares in the club. And that kind of thing. I was wondering if it's, on that note, if it's a consortium thinking about the future, consisting of supporters, especially celebrity supporters, and maybe even big businesses could buy out the club. But I hope the passion will see through. Hopefully, we'll end the rankers season without them winning things. I mean, technically, let's say heaven forbid we do lose today, as long as we show fight, I mean, we could still turn the season around again. We're still ahead of them in the league at the moment, but psychologically, they have a huge edge. Heaven forbid if they do beat us, they might think, oh no, we definitely have their number. And again, the other way around, if we beat them. Number 9, talking about the supporters, though, I was thinking that I'd love to ask supporters questions. If I wasn't thinking about like the game and the league in this season, I probably would have done like a 40-point list video asking about the supporters, because maybe I'll do that next week, depending if we've got any other plans. So I might cover next Sunday or whatever, like supporters asking questions, or even on Friday or whatever, fans asking the fans on Friday or whatever, like what sort of things you want to see. Because, like, for instance, I'm giving a bit away here, but I'd ask questions like, if you don't want wealthy owners, then does that mean you don't want to do well in Europe? Because if you want to do well in Europe, which I think we should focus on from next season, and I'll keep saying that, but especially to make sure we do as well as possible in the league. Again, I think we should play young players, youth and fringe players in Europe, and that kind of thing. But if you don't want wealthy owners like Arab owners, wealthy sheikhs or whatever, or people with lots of money, like Cascade Investments, Berkshire Hathaway, whatever, if you don't want those, if we could ever get those, like we could ever get those, but if you don't want those, then I think you have to accept that teams that have that money, that funding, and all that will attract better players. I suppose being in a better league as well, they will, and therefore we won't be able to compete with them. So it's that what the supporters want. Do they say we don't want wealthy owners? Because a lot of our supporters are left wing or whatever. But then again, we want to do well in Europe. I think that's contradictory, because teams that do well in Europe almost always have a lot of money, even if it's owned by the supporters. I think their supporters have money to pay. As people say, like being owned by the supporters and having supporter ownership. Like I think in Germany they have 50+1, so no company could buy them out, like City, like Man City or whatever, Chelsea and teams like that. But they say it doesn't actually stop domestic dominance as you might think it does, because the city that's more wealthier will have more supporters being able to put their money in. I think especially if they're more passionate about soccer or whatever. But yeah, I'd love to ask questions to the sports. But number 10, I guess this is not a game where you can play the youth in this game. You can't really play young players too much, unless you really gamble and you really believe in those young players. I think this is one to see the result, and I think the result in this game is more important than the performance. Showing that you can see games through. I know it kind of contradicts a little bit what I said a minute or so ago, where I said like having the psychological edge, because like, I suppose if you lose but you play really well, you can say, oh yeah, next time we can beat them. But it does show you can play badly and still win, which I think is a good psychological edge as well. Some people say that about Liverpool when they don't always play well, but they can see it through or whatever. But yeah, hopefully we'll get our season back on track and get back to winning a trophy. This is a really good chance to it's a one-off game that you have to win this to get to the final, and hopefully see it through this time, unlike our last final we got to with Aberdeen. But yeah, hopefully avoid any complacency and see it through. And then yeah, I hope we can have a chance to win a treble, and ideally win a treble and get loads of investment and sponsorship money, and then give it away to charity as well, which I talk about. But I hope to cover that in parts 2, 3, and 4, ideally. What else did I say? And God willing, whatever, that kind of thing covers on one basis. But yeah, hopefully I'll finish part 2, 3, and 4 tonight as well. So, anyhow, I am out. Peace and love. Please wish me well.